Good afternoon, everyone. While I was editing this video yesterday, I should say last night, the first part did not record, so you missed it, and if I didn't pipe in here now, then you wouldn't understand what I was talking about. Anyways, I have gotten several excuse me, questions from email and text about how do I wrap my soaps? I mean, how do I come up with it? That I must be, so crafty. And so I was explaining, no, I'm not. And then I went into talking about Foxfire. It's a series of books, and it talks about the people that are up in the Appalachian mountain ranges. I think the guy was from Georgia. He was a teacher or maybe an instructor. Anyways, I'm not going to keep repeating what I said in the other part of the segment. But anyways, you get my drift. And so I would just show this part in, and then I think you can pick it up from there and understand what in the world I was talking about. Anyways, enjoy. Okay, I don't know why that cut out. But anyways, let's get back to it. Foxfire. It was a series of books that came out in the 70s, and I think it was in Georgia, in the Appalachian Mountains. A professor or a teacher, I can't remember. It's been so long. I remember when I was growing up reading them. But anyways, he decided that he wanted to make a video of people that were backwards, that were not integrated into, modern day society. And in other words, people want to call them daggum hillbillies. But yes, that would be a good term, because what the modern day word for hillbilly is a primitive survivor. So I guess what I'm getting at is, if you go and you see folk art and you see just even that Foxfire series of how people survived and what they did to survive without, monetary, paychecks or whatever. And you used what you had, and you improvised and whatever to get things done. But the women and the men, they had a little bit of free time or something that, they worked on different projects, did things that were, for Christmas or gifts or whatever, and that's what they use in the craft department. It is folk art. And then, especially back in the 70s, and I remember, like I said, my whole family's from Kentucky and Tennessee, but I remember my granny all winter long made quilts. She did that all her life, even with just itty-bitty scraps that both of my daughters used to laugh about, every little bitty scrap piece of anything that I saved. And they'd, say, "Mom, you're a hoarder." And then they found out, why I saved it. I would save things for at least, Tater, stop, about 6 months, 6 to 9 months. And if I wasn't really going to use it, then I got rid of it. But it was just something that was built into me, to, survive, to make things, things that you could use. I guess an optimistic look on life. And that's me. I'm not a crafty person. I just have to get things done, and I do my soap. I have a small little soap business, and you have to wrap things. So that is what I used. Another thing, I think it was a book, but I'm not sure, but I remember seeing a movie made out of it, and it was with Jane Fonda. And boy, for a long, long time, I did not watch any of her movies, because you know what happened back in the day of, Nam. I didn't like what she did. But when I found out that she had, apologized for it and her different views, then I think that was the first movie that I ever watched of her, backwards, because I just, got to stand for something or you fall for anything. And she did a terrific job. That was the most favoritist movie that I have ever seen her in. I don't usually watch a lot, but it was about a woman and the family. And it's called, before I get into it, it's called The Doll Maker. And it told a big story of so many people in my generations and just before then about coming from the South, and they were, I think, were in Kentucky, and they wanted to buy a little farm so that they could live. And so her husband decided there wasn't any jobs, and that was like my dad, he didn't want to keep working in the coal mines. And so the Hillbilly Highway, which is I-75 corridor, Denise, you know that one, and a lot of others that go up and down from north to south. We called that the Hillbilly Highway, and how it got its name was, especially back in the, started in the 40s after World War II, but really popular in the 50s and the 60s. There was no work down south, so they would go up to Detroit for the Big Three plant. And so that's what the movie was about, that they were going to go up there. Her husband decided, well, I can make some money, building cars or working in a big old factory, because it was well known that, people would come back with, paychecks or send paychecks. But yes, it is not a pretty picture. If you guys can, go read the book and see the struggle of, back then, using what you got. That movie reminded me of it. She whittled and she made, she loved the woods and the birds and the critters, and she whittled and made things out, little, trinkets out of wood. And someone up there saw it, and, she was going to start selling some. But you need to watch that movie. It's tells the whole story, and it's more like my story, except for, yeah, it was back in the 60s and 70s, I think. Let me see, I think it was like 1968 when my daddy moved back there. So anyways, enough of that, but that is kind of like my story, and that is who I am today, about making what you have. This box, I don't know how old it is, but this was some of my soap way back when I first started selling soap. Believe it or not, look at that label, you guys. Jeremiah, my dear son, brought these in that I sent a long time, but the soap was older than, putting them in there. And oh my goodness, you know what? It still smells. It is amazing. Here's another when I thought I'd get fancy dancy. And that was when I lived in Billings, Missouri, way back when. Okay, and this one was even older than the fancy dancy. Look at that. And I sold them. I peddled soap on the street and whatnot, and people bought it. Look at that. Okay, and then I thought, well, you know what? I don't have any more plastic to wrap, so why not? Yeah. So I thought that would be kind of cute. And I needed to make bows, ribbons and bows. I didn't have nothing, so I made my own. This was out of toilet paper rolls. But yes, it's not because I'm crafty and fancy and whatever. It's just, oh my goodness, you guys, it's a way of life. And I am just so blessed and so happy to have so many things given to me now. Things that I buy that's real inexpensive. Like those buttons. I got it off not Wish, but Geek, I think. And it took a long time to get here, of course. But these were free. You just had to pay for shipping. I think it was $2. And you know how much soap I've wrapped with them. So this time I'm going to finish it off This was given to me. I think it's hemp string. So I just put these on here like that. And I thought with the coffee break, I would just, talk a little bit. Miss you guys. I know a lot of people want to hear me talk all the time, but there's a lot of stuff going on, especially with a little young man, 10 years old. I shouldn't call him little, but oh my goodness. I wish I had all his energy, but he just loves to cut up if we're not making soap or if I'm not keeping him busy. And so I tried to teach him, use what you got, and, my whole entire family. But I am a highly blessed hillbilly. Just all the things that I get, to do. If I run out of oil to make soap or lye or whatever, I just keep myself busy. There's so much to do, and I am never ever sad about it. I'm just highly blessed that I have things to do with my hands, and I think about, my family and the struggles, and they never looked at anything bad. I don't know an aunt, an uncle, my granny, my grandpa, the struggles that they had. They were always optimistic people. I remember my dad shipping us from, I say ship, he took us down on a Friday night when school got out in Michigan, and they fought over us. Most of my aunts and uncles all had 4 kids too, so that would be 8. I remember my granny and my grandpa took us most of the time. Maybe $200 a month is all they got for, on Social Security. My grandpa went out there, and the meat that we ate was meat that he either caught or he went hunting. And I remember them bringing them in, and then, just all different kinds of stories. Never have I ever heard any of them complain about having too many mouths to feed or not wanting us. They would fight over us, literally fight over us. Who's going to get us for the summer? So some of them would take turns, and on a Friday they would go to Granny's if they lived not close and take us for the weekend. It was just amazing people. So, I think the biggest thing is the heart and the spirit that you have, just doing what life dealt with you, but also having loving people around you, and that's you guys. I adore every one of you. So, enough of the yakety yak, jibber jabber talking. I will speed this part up and show you what I'm going to wrap summer heat with. All right, thank you. Let's get this paused and I'll get set up.